Hello guys, this side Jaspreet welcoming you, and today in this video we are going to cover the topic of Pytest, that what Pytest is and how we can install and configure the Pytest in our systems. Okay, if you have any doubt regarding the session or the video, you can use your option over here in your Speak Your Mind section and drop your queries or questions. And moving further, if I talk about the Pytest, that what Pytest actually is. So instead of directly going into the definition that what Pytest is, let's take an example of real life, that in any case we have a client which says that there are some test cases around 2000 to more and he needs all of them to be tested. Now when we talk about testing 2000 or more cases, approximately minimum 4 to 5 hours are required to run those test cases properly. Right. Now out of those 2000 cases, might be some are the failures and some are the successful. Right. This is a probability. So some are failures and some are successful. Now we need to keep the track. Now in between when the test cases are running, we cannot judge that at which point the error has been occurring, right? So for that we need to have some way so that we can capture that errors and which point that error is occurring. For suppose these are some of my test cases. Okay, these are some 7 test cases for example, and I am running them in a single flow and they are running. It will take around 20 to 25 minutes to run all these 7 cases. In any case, some of the test case throws an error, right? So I need to capture it. So for that, what I can do? I can generate a report, right? Now, when we are generating some reports, we cannot just say that the test case has occurred with an error. We need to see that where it has been happened. We need to have some messages and some screenshots to check at which point and which place the error has occurred. So we need to have that messages and screenshots added to the report. This is the second thing, that is the requirement when we are working with test cases, right? The next thing when we are talking about test cases, now it can be a hardcore test case in which all the data is given inside the coding. There might be a test case which is not having any hard-coded data. We have to collect the data from the Excel sheet, right? So when we talk about Excel sheet, along with that, the data is possible, we can be stored in the properties file as well, right? We have two types of data, changing and non-changing. So for that, there are two types of storage we can store the data in. One is the Excel sheet and second we can say the properties file or text file. Now when this whole thing will be done, this is a coordination, right? With the coordination of these test cases and generating reports, messaging and collecting data after collecting data and then running the test case, then we will go back to the browsers, right? Then I'll go to my browser. In any case, some test cases having a data saved in Excel sheet in which the browser is defined. So that is a requirement over here. Then it will go to my browser. So how it is going to be related? The test cases will connect with the reports. It will generate reports. Then it will add messages and screenshots according to your requirement. Also, it will read the data, and this whole thing is inside this block because this is a requirement which is dependent on each other, right? If there are no test cases, there will be no reports. There will be no reading from data. Right, and if there are test cases and don't reports, then we are not able to debug where the error actually came if there is some failure. So this is a test case, this is a framework, right? It's working in a coordination, it's a framework for testing. And this framework for testing we are talking about, this is called Pytest. Okay, and when this whole framework is executing, in between when the URL will be contacted and we are giving some URL, then it will go to my browser and open the browser and it will go to the URL. And this is connection of this framework with the browser is the Selenium. Okay, the Selenium is going to automate this browser and after that it will be running. So this is what Pytest is, the collection of test cases with the requirement of generating reports and adding messages and screenshots to the reports, along with reading data from Excel sheets and other files. Okay. Now, as I said, that unit test is a framework for writing test cases. Like, now this only PyTest is not available for writing test cases. There are another frameworks also available. Like we have nose test, unit test, PyTest, but we do prefer using the PyTest because of its vast application and ease of using. Right. So if I'll talk about why we prefer PyTest upon all these another frameworks. So the very first thing we prefer Pytest because of is the simple syntax. The syntax is very much easy to understand. Even if a beginner is looking at a Pytest, that person will get to understand that there is something, that what actually is happening in that test code or in that particular statement. Okay. After that, the second benefit Pytest provides you is that it helps you to run test case parallelly on different browsers. Now, when we talk about running test cases parallelly on different browsers, so that is possible when we are using grid, right? We'll not go into the main description of grid right now. We'll be discussing it later on when we'll be studying grid. But it is possible in Pytest using the grid. The third benefit that Pytest provides you is to run multiple test cases. There is a single command through which you can run all the test cases which are available in a single package. Okay. Now similarly, if we run multiple test cases, we can also run some specific test cases as well. If we are running specific test cases, then there is a provision to skip some specific test case as well. So over here, by these 5 points, you can understand that how easy Pytest can be when you have to work with Selenium. When we talk about other browsers, if I talk about these browsers, they have a different syntax which is not that easy to understand for a beginner. And this module is made according to the concept that every person who is seeing this video gets to understand what's going on. Okay, so if I move further, that what my PyTest is and what actually the definition is, we have got to understand that. Now we have to get this PyTest in a system. So for that, what I need to do is, I'll simply will go to my command prompt. Okay, over here I need to open it as administrator. So I'll say command prompt. Okay. In this command prompt, I need to give a simple command, that is pip install Selenium. Now you must be wondering that what this pip is. The pip is nothing but a package manager which is used when you have to install or uninstall some packages or libraries into your code, right? If you are using Python 3 by default, it will be available in your system. Otherwise, if you do not have this in your system, you can check that first, that whether it's available in your system or not. And to check that, what you need to do is, if I don't run this command, and I'll show you how you can check the pip is available or not. So you need to go to the location where your Python is downloaded. Okay, so I'll go over here and I'll look to the Python where my Python is available. So here is my Python available. So I'll do one thing. I will just copy the path from here. Okay, I will just copy the path. And I'll go to this location. Okay, in this location, what I need to check whether my pip is available or not. So to do that, you can simply say that I want to check the version of pip. If you are getting the line like this, just a minute. If you are getting line like this, that means your pip is already in your system. If you do not get such a statement over here after putting this command, you can simply go to your Google and say pip download. Okay, and when you will say that, over here you can see that this is the link that is to be used, pypi.org, and when you click on it, you can see that it says pip install pip. Okay, from here you can get your pip downloaded in your system. Now coming back to my Selenium, coming back to my Pytest, that how I can get my Pytest in a system. So I'll say pip install Pytest, and as soon as I press enter, it will start collecting all the relevant data which is required for Pytest, and it will install. Over here it says requirement already satisfied because I already have Pytest in my system. Just to confirm and just to check if the installation is properly done, so we'll just look at the list, and in the list as many as packages are available, they all will be displayed over here. So if I confirm for my Pytest, so you can see that the Pytest is available with this version 5.3.5. okay, in the same way, if you want to check that Pytest is running properly or not, so you can simply check the version of Pytest version. Okay, and it will provide you the information that which version of Pytest you are using. Okay, this was as simple as downloading the Pytest, and we have got how we can actually understand the Pytest is. So this was all about the introduction. We'll be looking at how we can make some new test cases, and we'll be discussing the conventions which we need to be careful about when we are working with Pytest, and we'll check how can we run the test cases in the next video. Till the time, and get Pytest installed in your system. Thank you.